The rain hammered against the windows of the small wooden house like impatient fingers, and Maya felt each drop as a premature contraction. 9 months pregnant, her body had become an unfamiliar, heavy, and aching fortress, where a life stirred with increasing urgency. She pressed her palm against her distended belly, feeling the strong kick that arched her back against the faded couch. The baby was restless today, just like her. "It's going to be okay, little one," she murmured, her voice almost lost in the storm's roar. The morning doctor's appointment still echoed in her mind like a disturbing drone. Dr. Henry had frowned as he examined the tests, his graying eyebrows knitting together in a worried line he tried to mask with a professional smile. "Just some irregularities," he'd said, but Maya knew that tone. It was the same one he'd used when he diagnosed her sister's infertility years ago. Carlos hadn't returned from work yet, and the solitude of the house seemed to amplify with each lightning flash illuminating the vast fields surrounding them. They'd moved to this isolated property 2 years ago, seeking peace and a safe place to raise their family. The house was 10 miles from the nearest town, surrounded by acres of farmland stretching to the distant mountains. It was exactly the kind of place where a person could disappear without a trace. The phone rang, slicing through the silence like a knife. Maya struggled to her feet, one hand supporting her back, the other cradling her belly. The number on the screen was unknown, but the area code was local. "Hello? Maya Oliveira?" The voice was female, low, and urgent. "Yes, who's this? You were at Dr. Henry's office today?" It wasn't a question. Maya felt a chill crawl down her spine. "Who is this? How do you know that?" "I need to talk to you. It's about your baby. There are things the doctor didn't tell you." The line went dead. Maya stared at the phone, her heart pounding, the child in her womb moving with increased agitation, as if it could sense its mother's fear. She dialed back, but the number wouldn't connect. 20 minutes later, Carlos's headlights cut through the darkness of the dirt road. Maya rushed to the door, her relief palpable as she saw her husband emerge from the rain, dark hair plastered to his forehead, his dress shirt soaked. "My God, you're drenched," she said, helping him remove his coat. "What happened?" "Flat tire 2 miles back. Had to change it in the rain." Carlos kissed her forehead, his hands automatically moving to her belly. "How was the appointment?" Maya hesitated. The mysterious call still echoed in her mind, but Carlos already looked exhausted. "Everything was normal," she lied. "The baby's fine." But that night, Maya couldn't sleep. The baby moved constantly, and she felt an unease she couldn't explain. At 3 in the morning, she decided to get up for some tea. Passing the kitchen window, she saw lights moving in the distant field. They weren't car lights. They were too faint and moved strangely, like lanterns carried by people walking. "Carlos," she whispered, shaking her husband, "there's someone out there." He sat up immediately, his protective instinct aroused. He peered out the window, his eyes narrowing in the darkness. "I don't see anything, honey. Maybe it was just headlights from a car on the road." It wasn't headlights, it was people walking. Carlos put his arms around her, feeling the tension in her muscles. "You're nervous about the baby. It's normal. Let's go back to bed." But Maya couldn't forget the lights, nor the call, nor Dr. Henry's expression. The next morning, she decided to go into town to do some shopping and maybe talk to someone about the doctor. The town center was small, with a square surrounded by local shops and an old stone church. Maya parked in front of the pharmacy and, with difficulty, got out of the car. "Marina!" The voice came from behind. She turned and saw Mrs. Ruth, an elderly woman who had lived in the town for decades. "How's the baby?" Fine, thank you, Mrs. Ruth. The woman approached, her faded blue eyes fixed on Maya's belly. You've been seeing Dr. Henry, haven't you? Yes, why? Mrs. Ruth looked around, as if making sure no one was listening. You know he lost his medical license 5 years ago, don't you? Maya's blood ran cold. What do you mean? There was a scandal. A patient died during childbirth. They said he was doing experiments, things he shouldn't have been. Mrs. Ruth lowered her voice further. But he kept seeing patients, discreetly, especially pregnant women. They say he has an obsession with babies. Maya felt the world spin around her. The contractions she'd felt the night before returned with full force, and she leaned against the car, gasping. I need to go home. Do you want me to call someone? No, I'm fine. But Maya wasn't fine. She was terrified. The drive back home was a blur of panic and pain. The contractions were now regular, and Maya knew labor had begun. She tried to call Carlos, but his phone went straight to voicemail. She tried to call emergency services, but there was no signal on the rural road. When Maya finally got home, Carlos still wasn't there. She stumbled into the living room, feeling the water break. The pain was intense, coming in waves that stole her breath. She needed to get to the hospital, but she couldn't drive in this condition. That's when she saw the cars in the driveway. 3 black vehicles with tinted windows were parked in front of the house. Figures emerged, men and women dressed in white, moving with an unsettling calm. Maya tried to run, but another contraction brought her down. She fell to her knees on the living room floor, gasping. The front door opened without a hand touching it. Maya. The voice was the same as the one from the phone call the previous night. A tall woman with graying hair and intensely blue eyes entered the room. It's time. Who are you? Maya managed between contractions. We are the chosen, and you will give us the gift we've been waiting for. More people filed into the house. Maya saw that they all wore the same embroidered symbol on their white clothing, a circle with a tree at its center. Maya felt a deep, stabbing betrayal. The doctor she trusted had handed her over to these people. What do you want with my baby? It's not your baby, dear. It never was. The woman knelt beside Maya, placing cold hands on her belly. This child was conceived for a sacred purpose. It carries something special, something our community has waited decades for. The pain was becoming unbearable. Maya tried to pull away, but other members of the group closed in, forming a circle around her. They all began to murmur in a language she didn't recognize, their voices blending into a strange, hypnotic melody. You can't do this, Maya screamed. My husband will be here. He'll look for me. Your husband won't be coming, the woman said with icy certainty. He's being cared for by other members of our family. The terror Maya felt at that moment was greater than the physical pain. You've hurt Carlos? He's fine, for now, but your cooperation will determine what happens to him. Maya realized she was trapped. There was no escape. The contractions were getting closer, and she knew the baby would be born soon. She looked at the faces around her, all marked by a disturbing serenity, as if they were participating in some sacred ritual. Please, she pleaded, let me have my baby in peace. You can have him afterward, but let me deliver safely. The woman smiled for the first time, but it wasn't a comforting smile. You still don't understand, do you? There won't be an afterward for you, Maya. Your function ends when the child is born. If you're enjoying this gripping narrative, subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, delving into the depths of human nature and the mysteries surrounding our deepest fears. The horror of realization hit Maya like a cold wave. They didn't just want her baby, they planned to kill her. She looked desperately around, searching for some way to escape, but she was surrounded and in active labor. "You're wrong," Maya said, gathering all her strength. "My baby doesn't belong to you. It belongs to no one but me and my husband." The woman tilted her head, as if studying an interesting animal. "You still don't understand. Let me explain." She gestured to the others, who moved closer. 12 years ago, our community lost something very precious, a special child. She was taken from us by forces that didn't understand her value. Maya felt another devastating contraction and groaned in pain. "I don't know what child you're talking about." "Oh, but you do. You were a nurse back then, weren't you? You worked at the county hospital. Do you remember a night 12 years ago when a woman arrived in labor? She was alone, scared, talking about people who were chasing her." Memories started flooding back like painful flashes. Maya did remember. A young woman with the same intense blue eyes as the person standing before her now. There had been something different about that night, something that had marked her deeply. "Elena," Maya whispered. "Her name was Elena." "My daughter," the woman said, and for the first time her voice carried genuine emotion. "My daughter who fled our community pregnant with a sacred child. You helped her escape." Maya remembered now. Elena had arrived at the hospital in a panic, begging her not to tell anyone she was there. She said dangerous people were looking for her, that they wanted to take her baby. Maya, young and impressionable, had helped Elena deliver in secret and then leave the hospital through the service entrance. "I just helped a woman in danger," Maya said, fighting another wave of pain. "You stole our community's future. That child should have been raised with us, trained for her secret purpose. Instead, she grew up in the ordinary world, unaware of her true nature. Where is Elena now?" The woman's face hardened. "She died 2 years later. Car accident. But the child disappeared. We could never find her." Maya felt the baby moving, descending the birth canal. The head was crowning, and she knew she couldn't hold on much longer. "Even if that's true, it doesn't justify what you're doing to me." "You owe us a child," the woman said. "And when Dr. Henry told us about you, a 9 months pregnant woman carrying a special child, we knew it was the recompense we awaited." "What did Dr. Henry do to my baby?" The woman smiled again, that chilling smile. "He did nothing, yet. But during your appointments, he collected samples, blood, fluids. He took them to our community where our elders performed blessing rituals. Your child now carries our sacred mark." Maya was beginning to understand the extent of the horror. "You contaminated my baby. We blessed him. When he's born, he will be one of us. And you, as the mother who carried him, will have fulfilled your purpose." The baby was almost born. Maya could feel him moving for the last time inside her, and a part of her desperately wanted to hold him, protect him. But another part knew it might be better if he wasn't born into this terrible world awaiting him. That's when she heard the noise. Engines, cars approaching at high speed. The cult members looked at each other, their serenity finally shattered. "She lied," one of the men said. "She must have told someone." The woman glared at Maya. "You didn't do any of this. You were alone." But Maya knew who it was. Carlos had come home early and found the signs of a struggle. He had called the police and maybe managed to track the cars. Or maybe it was something more. The doors burst open. But it wasn't the police who entered. It was a group of armed people dressed in black, their faces covered. They moved with military precision, quickly surrounding the cult members. "Get out of the house," a commanding voice said. "Now." The woman slowly rose, her hands raised. "You don't understand what you're interrupting." "We understand perfectly," the voice said. One of the figures approached and removed his mask. He was a middle-aged man, scarred face and eyes that had seen much violence. "You are under arrest for kidnapping, conspiracy, and child trafficking." Maya couldn't understand what was happening.
The baby was being born. She was surrounded by a crazy cult, and
The same facial structure, and on his arms, a tattooed symbol she recognized, the circle with the tree. Carlos? He approached and knelt beside her. My love, there are things I never told you, about my past, about who I really am. Maya felt the world crumble around her. You're one of them? I was, a long time ago, but I escaped, just like Elena. He looked at the cult woman with a mix of anger and sadness. Hello, Mother. The revelation hit Maya like a punch in the stomach. Carlos was Elena's son, the child who had disappeared 12 years ago, the child Maya herself had helped hide. You knew, Maya said, her voice almost inaudible. You knew who I was when we met. Carlos took her hand. I've been looking for you for years, the woman who saved my mother, who gave me a chance at a normal life. When I found you, I truly fell in love, not because of what you had done, but because of who you were. But you brought me here, to this isolated house. You delivered me to them. No, Carlos said vehemently. I brought you here to protect you. I knew they would eventually find you. I wanted to be prepared. That's why I worked with the police to set up an operation. Maya looked at the woman, the grandmother of her soon-to-be-born baby. You're Carlos's mother. I am, the woman said, and there were tears in her eyes now. And you are about to give birth to my grandson, the child who will complete our circle. Never, Carlos said, standing up. You lost me 12 years ago. You won't have my son. Inspector Davis signaled to his team, remove all cult members, leave the family in peace. But as the officers began to take the cult members out, Maya felt the final contraction. The baby was being born, and there was no stopping it. Carlos knelt beside her again, holding her hand. It's all right, he murmured. I'm here. You're safe. Maya pushed with all her remaining strength and suddenly felt the baby slip out. A loud, healthy cry filled the room. Carlos took the baby with trembling hands, cut the umbilical cord with a sterilized knife one of the officers gave him, and placed the child in Maya's arms. It was a boy, small but perfect. His eyes were still closed, but when he opened them, Maya saw they were brown like her own eyes, not blue like Carlos's family. He's beautiful, Maya whispered, tears streaming down her face. Carlos kissed her forehead. He's ours, just ours. But Carlos's grandmother, who was being led away by the officers, yelled back, You can't escape what you are, my grandson. Blood always calls to blood. He will grow up knowing where he came from. Carlos turned to her, his face hardening. He will grow up knowing only that he is loved, that he was wanted, that he will never be anyone's possession. The agents led all the cult members away. Inspector Davis approached Maya, who was now lying on the couch with the baby in her arms. You'll need protection for a while, he said. This cult has branches in several states. They might try to come back. For how long? Carlos asked. Until we can arrest all the members. It could take months, maybe years. Maya looked at the baby, who had begun to nurse. That doesn't matter how long. He's worth any sacrifice. But that night, after the agents left and they were finally alone, Maya couldn't sleep. She held the baby, watching his peaceful face, but couldn't get the woman's words out of her head. Blood always calls to blood. Carlos, she whispered, tell me about your childhood, about what they did to the children. Carlos was sitting in a chair beside the bed, watching the door. Are you sure you want to know? I need to know, to protect our son. Carlos took a deep breath. They believe that certain children are born with special abilities, that they can communicate with spirits, predict the future, things like that. They perform rituals from the time the children are young, trying to awaken these abilities. And did it work? Sometimes, or at least the children believed it worked. I had visions, dreams that sometimes came true.
But as I grew up, I realized it was just coincidence mixed with a lot of psychological conditioning. Maya looked at the baby. What if he has these abilities? Then we'll love him all the same. But he will never be used by anyone. He will have the right to choose his own life. In the following days, Maya and Carlos tried to establish a normal routine. The baby, whom they named Miguel, was healthy and strong. But Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. A week after the birth, she was home alone with Miguel when the phone rang. It was the same unknown number from the night it all began. Hello. It was the woman's voice, Carlos's grandmother. How is my grandson? Maya felt her blood run cold. How did you get this number? You should be in prison. There are many things you don't understand about our organization. We have resources, connections. It's not possible to keep us locked up for long. What do you want? I want to meet my grandson. I want to see him grow up. I won't try to take him, but he has the right to know his heritage. He has no heritage.
Carlos froze. You can't be here. How did you get past the agents? What agents? Daniel laughed. Nobody's been watching you for days. That was always the plan, to let you think you were safe while we got closer. Maya felt terror grip her. Where are the police? Some were ours from the start. Others were persuaded to help us. Did you really believe that an organization 50 years old would be destroyed by a one-week police operation? Carlos pulled Maya inside the house and locked the door. He's bluffing. He has to be. But Maya could see through the window that other cars were arriving. The same people in white who had invaded her house a week before. Only now there were more. Many more. We're going to die, Maya whispered, holding Miguel to her chest. No, Carlos said, with a determination she had never seen before. There's a tunnel at the back of the house. My father built it when we bought this property. I never told you about it because I hoped I'd never have to use it. Where does it lead? To the neighboring property. There's a road there. If we can get there. They ran to the back of the house. Carlos moved a heavy bookcase, revealing a trapdoor in the floor. Go down. I'll follow. Maya descended into the dark tunnel with Miguel in her arms. It was tight and damp, but she could see a faint light at the end. Carlos descended behind her, replacing the trapdoor. They'll find us, Maya said. Maybe, but it'll give us a few minutes head start. They crawled through the tunnel as fast as they could. Miguel had started crying, and Maya was trying to soothe him as she moved. When they finally emerged on the other side, they were in an abandoned barn. Now, Carlos said, we run for the road. There's a town 5 miles from here. When we get there, we call the state police. But as they came out of the barn, they saw they were already expected. The woman, Carlos's grandmother, was waiting with more members of the sect. Did you really believe we didn't know all the secrets of this property? She said, smiling. We helped your father build this tunnel 2 years ago. He wasn't just a friendly neighbor, Carlos. He was one of us. Maya felt the world crumble completely. Your father is alive? Carlos was as white as a sheet. He died when I was 15. Cancer. He faked his death, the woman said, to be able to care for you from a distance, to make sure you grew up healthy and strong, to have healthy children. You're lying. Am I? The woman gestured, and an elderly man emerged from behind one of the trees. He had the same blue eyes, but also Carlos's features. Hello, my son. Carlos stumbled backward as if he'd been punched. Dad? I'm sorry for the deception, but it was necessary. You needed to believe you were free, that your choices were your own. Only then could you find the right woman, have the right child. The man approached slowly, as if he didn't want to frighten a wild animal. It was all planned, Carlos, from the day you ran away from the community. Maya felt nauseous. You orchestrated everything? Our meeting? Our marriage? My pregnancy? Not your pregnancy, dear. That was genuine.
But yes, we facilitated the circumstances. The woman approached Maya, extending her arms. Now, please, let me hold my great-grandson. Never, Maya said, recoiling. You're sick, all of you. That's when Miguel stopped crying and looked directly at the woman. His brown eyes seemed lighter, almost translucent in the moonlight. And for an impossible moment, Maya was certain the baby had smiled. He recognizes us, the woman said, her voice thick with emotion. He knows who we are. Carlos grabbed Maya's arm. Run, he whispered. When I say so, run towards the road. Don't look back. I'm not leaving you. You have to save our son. That's the only thing that matters now. But before Carlos could make any move, his father spoke. Son, you don't need to resist. We don't want to hurt them. We just want you to come home with us. We want Miguel to grow up knowing his real family. Real family? Carlos laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. You're a cult of fanatics. You kidnapped my wife, terrorized my son? We protect our lineage, the woman said. For generations, our family has carried special gifts, abilities that the ordinary world doesn't understand. Miguel inherited these gifts. He needs to be properly trained. Maya looked at the baby in her arms. Miguel was quiet now, but his eyes seemed to focus on things she couldn't see. What kind of abilities? He can see through the veil between worlds, communicate with those who have passed on, predict future events. But without proper training, these abilities will become a curse. He'll go mad with the visions. You're making all this up, Carlos said, but there was uncertainty in his voice. Are we? His father asked. Do you remember the nightmares you had as a child? The times you knew something bad was going to happen before it did? You thought you'd overcome all that when you ran away from us, but actually, you just suppressed your gifts. Maya saw Carlos's expression change. There was recognition there, and fear. Even if that's true, it doesn't mean you have a right to our son. We have an obligation, the woman said. If he's not trained, the visions will destroy him. Do you want your son to spend his entire life battling voices he doesn't understand, seeing dead people he can't help? Miguel started crying again, but it was a different cry, higher pitched, more desperate. Maya tried to soothe him, but he seemed to be looking at something above her, something she couldn't see. He's already seeing, the woman said, with satisfaction. He's seeing the woman who's behind you. Maya turned quickly, but there was no one there. What woman? Elena, my daughter, Carlos's mother. She's here, trying to protect her grandson. Carlos went pale. My mother has been dead for years. The dead don't go away, my son. They just change form. And your mother never truly left you. She's been with you all these years, trying to guide you back home. Maya looked at Miguel, who had stopped crying and was now extending a tiny hand toward the air, as if trying to touch something. This is impossible. Babies can't see ghosts. Ordinary babies can't, the woman said. But Miguel is no ordinary baby. He's special, just as his father was special, just as we all are special. That's when Maya realized something terrible. Throughout the entire conversation, neither she nor Carlos had really tried to escape. It was as if they were hypnotized.
When many of us gather, our combined energy affects ordinary people. You're feeling peace because you're finally home. Maya forced herself to take a step back, fighting against the lethargy. No, this isn't peace. This is manipulation. But as she moved, Miguel started crying again, this time with an intensity that made her stop. The baby reached out towards the cult members, as if wanting to go to them. He wants to come to us, the woman said. He knows where he belongs. He's just a baby, Maya shouted. He doesn't know what he wants. He knows more than you think, said Daniel, Carlos's brother. Look into his eyes. Really look. Maya looked at Miguel and felt a shock. The baby's eyes were no longer brown. They were blue, blue like the cult member's eyes. And there was something in them, an intelligence that shouldn't exist in a 1-week-old child. "This isn't possible," she whispered. "Many things aren't possible," the woman said, "but they happen nonetheless. Miguel isn't just your son, Maya. He's the future of our lineage, the chosen one we've been waiting for decades." Carlos finally moved, taking Miguel from Maya's arms. "It doesn't matter what he is. He's our son, and we're going to protect him." "Protect him from what?" his father asked. "From his own family? From people who will love him and guide him? From a home where he'll never be judged for his differences?" "Protect him from you," Carlos said, but his voice was weak. "From people who kidnap children and brainwash them." "We don't brainwash," the woman said. "We teach the truth, that there's more to the world than meets the eye, that some people are born with the ability to touch the divine." Maya forced herself to think clearly. Something didn't add up. "If you're so powerful, why do you need babies? Why can't you just use your own powers?" The woman hesitated for the first time. "The gifts need to be cultivated from a young age. Untrained adults can't access their full potential." "Or maybe," Maya said, her clarity returning gradually, "you don't have any powers. Maybe you're just a gang of criminals using superstition to control vulnerable people." The tension in the air shifted instantly. The artificial sense of peace vanished, and Maya could think clearly for the first time in minutes. "You've been trying to manipulate us from the start," she continued. "The drugs in the air, the talk about spirits, even the change in Miguel's eye color, it's all a setup." Carlos looked at Miguel again. The baby's eyes were brown, as they had always been. "She's right," he said, anger rising in his voice. "You're just common criminals." The woman sighed deeply. "You left us no choice. We hoped it would be easier, that you would come willingly. And now? Now you come by force." The cult members closed in, and Maya saw that they were all carrying weapons. They were no longer the mystical fanatics they pretended to be. They were common thugs, willing to use violence to get what they wanted. "Hand over the baby," Daniel said. "No one needs to get hurt." "Never," Maya said, taking Miguel back into her arms. That's when she heard the sound that would change everything. Sirens. Many sirens, approaching rapidly. "Police!" an amplified voice shouted. "You're surrounded." The cult looked around, confused. They had been caught off guard. "How?" the woman asked. But those were worries for the future. For now, Miguel was just their baby, their beloved son who had been born under terrible circumstances, but who now slept peacefully in her arms, safe and protected. And maybe that was enough. Maybe love was enough to overcome any darkness that might come. Maybe the family they had built was strong enough to weather any storm. Maya kissed Miguel's forehead and put him back in his crib. Turning to leave the room, she could have sworn she saw a shadow moving in the corner. But when she looked again, there was nothing there. "Just my imagination," she murmured. But as she walked down the hall, she heard Miguel make a soft sound, as if he were talking to someone. And for a moment, she was sure she heard a second voice responding. A woman's voice, gentle and loving. A voice that sounded exactly like Elena's. Maya stopped in the hallway, her heart pounding. She knew she should go back and check, but a part of her didn't want to know the truth. Didn't want to confirm that maybe, just maybe, the cult was right about some things. Instead, she kept walking, back to the bedroom where Carlos was sleeping. She lay down beside him, pulled the covers up, and closed her eyes. And if there were ghosts in the baby's room, if there were mysteries she couldn't understand, if there was an uncertain future awaiting her family, well, She would deal with all of that tomorrow. For now, it was enough to know that Miguel was safe, that Carlos was beside her, and they had survived the storm. The rest could wait. 12 years later, when Carlos finally pried open the loose floorboard in the storage room of the house where they had briefly lived, he found exactly what he expected to find, and also things he never imagined were there. But that's a story for another time. A story about buried secrets, about truths that are sometimes better left in the past, and about the price we pay for trying to protect those we love. For now, just know that some families carry more than just DNA. They carry mysteries, curses, and gifts that pass from generation to generation, whether they want to or not. And that sometimes love isn't enough to change what we are.